Well, I went to Iraq in January of 2003 because it was a really rare opportunity to be there as a journalist, a writer, and photographer, and be in the presence of people who had really been designated as our enemies. I would have expected a lot of animosity, a lot of hostility to be directed at me personally. And it was really, it was almost humiliating, the degree to which they were hospitable and kind and outgoing. And it was very rare to find anyone. I could count probably on one hand the number of times that I had any particular conflict with an Iraqi in the first 2 months that I was there. You know, a lot of people ask me, how did you survive it? And my initial reaction is, how do you survive walking down the street and people running out offering you food and inviting you into your homes and offering you rides and to help carry your baggage for you and wanting you to meet their mother and asking your opinion about what do you do when you're having a tough time with your wife. They want the same kind of advice your best friend would want. It's a different kind of experience than you'd expect. And, that didn't survive once a lot of people got killed. There was, much more animosity and much more cause for animosity. The one experience that I had that just best illustrates, I think, how sad it is waiting for war to start and every day facing the threats of it was when I was photographing at the Baghdad School of Music and Ballet, and I was in a classroom where the teacher had been there only 5 days. This fourth grade classroom, kids spoke incredibly good English, and one little girl in particular, Faye Khalij, she's 9 years old. She was drawing a picture of a U.S. missile going into the Amaria bomb shelter because the teacher had told the kids that the best way to face their fears was for them to draw pictures of the warplanes that might kill them. I was thinking about my kids who were in school at the time when I'm photographing these students while she's having them draw these warplanes. And I was thinking about my younger son, who was 10 years old, just a year older than these kids. And I was imagining what it would be like to come home, the way I would usually do it here in the U.S. in the evening and say, what did you learn in school today? What did you do in school? And he'd say, well, we drew pictures of the warplanes that would kill us. And, I was just, I was just so overcome with rage at the thought, of somebody every day showing these images of how they were going to kill my kids. And I started crying. And the teacher saw me and she started crying. And, I looked around the room and I was thinking, I wonder who will make it. And the teacher, pointed out to the kids, you should say your goodbyes now because when you come back, if it happens, and it could happen at any minute, that your friends may not be here. And there's a photographer, Alan Pogue, does very nice work. He lives I think he's in Austin, Texas. He had a show of Iraq photographs in February of 2002. Just a little bit more than a year before the U.S. invasion. He had 35 images up in an art gallery in Austin, and he said a man came up to him after opening night of this exhibition and said to him, before tonight, I hadn't ever really thought about there being women and children in Iraq. Alan had photographed a lot of kids, mothers with their babies, things like that. And, that confession, if you will, from this man, I think is probably an accurate portrayal for a lot of Americans, is that we think about there being people with guns. We think about there being hostile men, wearing, covering for their head. We think about people planting bombs. We think about militant, angry people. But, mothers feeding their babies, little kids playing basketball in the streets, people standing in line at the pharmacy, people, brewing tea. Those things get overlooked, and it just becomes violence and destitution and depravity. And my images aren't about those things. My photographs are about realities of a daily existence and the similarities between our cultures. And they're remarkably the same. They value their children. They value the arts. They value music. They love each other. They like to play, and they enjoy reading. They want to learn all these things. And it is surprising to many people when they're looking at my photographs that there are Arabs seeming to fill the roles of Americans in my images, because in many ways we're awfully alike.